I mean, it's great
a lot
that
of poor
people
kids going to college.
There are a lot of poor, but there are a lot of people who are not poor who can't afford college. So
Can't take care of everybody. These are for the needy.
Okay.
Solely for the needy.
Okay, so I want you to understand that, though.
I understand that.
No. So if that is who their target is,
That's who they're targeting.
then you can't complain about other organizations or agencies that don't target the population you're interested in. But I'm
Like,
complaining.
for example, like who?
Like you will say stuff like, "Oh, the coalition ought to do this," but when I'm telling you that's not their
Coalition is different.
Hold on, honey.
Okay.
When I tell you that's not their mission, then that's not what they do.
It is their mission. We read over the mission. We went over their mission. It is their mission.
To do everything that you want them to do.
You see, the problem is that with their mission, they added an impossible at the end of it.
At any
Mission
rate.
Impossible.
No, I just
I
think
don't know.
that,
I don't know why you defend the indefensible.
No, I'm just saying that you're saying that that's their mission, and I'm complaining about the value, not the value, but the targeted audience.
But this is who they're targeting.
Okay, that's the way it is.
It's very specific.
Okay,
So they target the rich folks, the middle class folks who can afford it.
I can't afford it, and I'm not rich,
Middle class.
and I cannot afford it.
Well, you just not target. You could find other scholarships over there that you will be able to apply for.
Well, I mean, yeah, but then I look at this, and I mean, it's like, you have to be broke or really rich to get stuff. This is what I see.
What salary do you think a person who's getting a Pell Grant? What salary do you think a person make that's getting a Pell? Maybe we just guessing here. What salary do you think a person that gets Pell Grant? What do you think they make? 60,000, 70,000, 80,000?
No, definitely not.
I think so.
No.
You could get Pell Grant if you're making 60,000.
If the tuition is 60,000, sure.
And you're making 60,000?
Yes, then they might give you
If the
extensive
tuition
money
is 55,000 and you're making 60,000? If
Mm-hmm.
the tuition is 55,000 and you're making 80,000?
No, they won't do it.
Of course.
No, they
Expenses. They got to take expenses into account.
won't. No, they won't.
Yes, they do.
Okay.
You think you Pell Grant, you just apply for it, and if you're making 80,000, they say no?
Yes, I do.
No, you got to put in. You got to put in the expenses.
I'm telling you, and from my experience, there's not a lot of money out there for someone who is in the middle. There's money for the poor, and there's money for the rich. And what kills me
There's
is
money
that,
for the rich.
yes, they're coming out of their pocket, and they've found
Oh, okay.
other ways
Well,
to
that's
do
their
stuff.
own money.
Or if you like loaded, yeah. I just heard a story the other day. Can you believe this kid? He's not even that bright. He's got a 2.5 average, 2.7, and he's getting 22,000. He
But
must have.
these people have to have a 3.3 average.
Okay.
That's high.
Yes, they're asking for a lot. Well, I mean, whatever. But this kid has a 2.7 average, and he's getting 22,000 a year to go to school.
What program is that?
Whatever the school is, that's what they offered him.
22,000 a year? He's a minority, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
A minority from a very
Poor background.
wealthy family. So somehow,
Wait. He's a minority from a wealthy family. Then his father and dad didn't put their salaries down on the...
well, maybe they didn't ask for the salary. It was based on.
It's
So the friend,
not based on
can I
academics.
finish? So the friend said no. Maybe it's just he must have had great SAT scores. His mom.
Come on, you can't have a 2.2
Hold
and have
on,
a great SAT
hey.
score.
His mom put all this money toward him getting all this SAT tutoring,
Oh, okay.
and it must have worked out.
Okay, all right.
So when you have the resources, things may fall into your hands.
That's life.
Yes, it is.
That's life.
And if
That's
you
the way
don't,
it is.
And if you don't have the resources,
That's life too. You got to try
things
and get it somehow.
But if you're somewhere in the middle and you don't meet that eligibility requirement, then
So
you
be it.
got to do it for yourself.
Or, well, listen, think about it this way. If you think you're going to fall in the middle, make sure your son or daughter is superior in academics. Or they're superior in some sport.
Doesn't even, or superior in some sport.
Yeah.
Well, we're not athletes, okay?
But
and
listen,
I
no.
don't. I mean, I don't understand why you're going to be an apologist for this. Can I just complain without you, trying to?
I'm not being an
out?
apologist. I think
I'm
it's
just
a
saying
I think
to
it's a
you,
great program.
It's great, but I'm saying that you're
1,000
telling
people?
me to look at that, and that's not going to help me in any way. So I don't have anything in there.
So you saying that?
Well,
since
you know
it
what? No,
doesn't help
wait a
you,
minute. Okay,
you're not interested
let's
in it.
take this to the next level. When we were talking about people doing things because of their own experiences or what's helpful to them or for their own benefit, I have found that me, and I'm sure that there are many, 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 many people like me who are somewhere in the middle.
Not the majority.
So,
the minority.
Excuse me. There are many people out there like me, or somewhere in the middle, living in an expensive town, not poor enough to qualify for anything, and not rich enough to pay for anything. So what ends up happening in this society is that people like me, who don't have 40 grand a year to go to school, end up taking out enormous amounts of loans. And what it does is that those loans...
And whose fault is that?
That I don't have $40,000
Yeah.
to send my child to school?
Yeah.
Whose fault is it?
Yeah, whose fault is that?
I guess it's my fault because
No,
I didn't
I'm
get a
not
job
saying
on
it's your
Wall
fault.
Street.
But listen to this. Let me give you a scenario then. Let me give you a scenario.
Why can't I just say what I'm saying? I mean,
Go ahead,
why do we need a scenario?
Finish.
I don't know why it's anybody's
But
fault.
I'm going
Why
to give
is
you a scenario.
Why is it? There's no fault to it. Whose fault it is that the cost of college is very high.
Yes.
You want your child to go to the best because that person
Correct.
has those types of aspirations.
Yes.
And that is helpful to him. His school has been quite helpful to him.
If he has academics,
he does have the academics.
he's going to get an academic scholarship.
No, it doesn't work that way.
He's just
listen. I don't understand what you're saying. You know what? There is this, and I really want people to not fall for that okie doke. And the okie doke is, and they tell kids this all the time. Anybody can go to school. Anybody can get into college. And I see it over and over and over and over every year. And all my seniors in the beginning, they're applying, they're in these lines, they're doing this, they're doing that. They may or may not get accepted, right? And those who get in, for the most part, are getting very limited resources.
Because either the parents are making too much money, they don't have the grades. Listen, I can tell you, I can give you an example. At the College of St. Elizabeth, okay, if you come in with a 3.5 or better, right, you will almost, well, if you have a 3.9, you will get a full academic scholarship. Full.
And so everyone is not going to come in with a 3.9.
But so
everyone is, and just because you don't have a 3.9, hold on, because you don't have a 3.9, right? Yeah, maybe you screwed up in your freshman year, whatever it was, because everyone in this whole earth is not that focused. There are people who are talented. That I didn't have a 3.9 when I went to college.
I didn't have.
Luckily,
I didn't
neither
have a
did you.
either.
I'm sure you didn't. So the point.
I had something else. I had something else.
Okay. Well, I don't have anything else but my brain. We're not.
So utilize that.
And we are not athletes. So I'm saying to you, that it is difficult. And I'm saying, and anyone else, that's a nice dream, but the sad reality that slaps people in the face, and I see it over and over again, is that they get into these, they paid all this money, applied to all these places, and then when they get their financial aid award, it's very low. Now, the first year, get into a school, maybe the school's $40,000. First year, they'll say, okay, we'll give you 20. And you're like, yeah. After that, that cuts off. Now you're in that school. You got to keep on. You got to keep taking out more loans and more loans and more loans. My son just got 4 A's and a B+. He's a math major. He's had 5 on an AP calculus, 4 on an AP statistics. Right? It is not like people are throwing money. And I look, and he looks, and wait a minute, and we apply, and we are not athletes. So to say that, we're going to have a black mathematician, everyone is looking for, that's not, so I'm looking at this, and they're saying you must meet these eligibility requirements. Me, a single parent, who's one income, and I make too much money for anyone to give me anything other than a loan. Nothing other than a loan. So I don't want to hear it's my fault or the fact that we don't play soccer or basketball or any of that other stuff. I'm just saying to you that I see this over and over. And it's even worse for people who might be in a situation somewhat, maybe 20,000 less or whatever, because it does look on paper like I make a decent income. 20,000 less, 30,000 less. Say the person's making 60 or 70 or whatever. They are not going to be eligible to receive granted money. They're eligible for a loan. And your loan status is based on your credit. So if you have bad credit, they're less likely to offer you a loan than you would have to go to a commercial loan rather than a federal loan, which has a lower rate. I put in my ex-husband's, they put in his Social Security number before the last number comes out. No, you ain't getting no damn money. So, this is something I'm suffering from. I really don't want to hear how, it's my fault. Your son's too bad he's asthmatic and he's not a runner or any of that other stuff. I have a husband, go out and do all that athletic stuff. I didn't grow up like that. I grew up in a family of academics. We don't know nothing about none of that sports stuff. That's why I don't care about it. So here I am in the middle. And I'm going to tell you, this situation drives me into doing this program, this foundation, to provide these summer experiences for people who, like me, who might be living in this town and paying a lot of money, holding it, maintaining it all by themselves if they have to. But then, here's a program at Brown that you could go to in the summer for $2,000. And you're just trying to get this, you're trying to get that, and you don't have the money for that, and then you're aware of it. Well, look, God, I got a mathematician, and, here's an algebra or an engineering program. Let me send you to that during the summer to enrich your mind, and you're not just walking the streets of Maplewood. But now I got to dig up $2,000, $3,000. So this is one of the driving things, because the people in this community, someone said to me the other day, well, here we live here. Why should, anybody do that? But if we can't take care of our own, even though we're not the poorest and the most oppressed, we can't take care of our own people, then who was there to do that? That burden is not on anyone else but us, because it's expected, because we're here in the middle, we're educated, we're not living, in the worst possible situation, that we just have to do everything. But people, we should be able to take care of each other and help one another, so all of our children can be a success. I hate these old adages, and it takes a village, but, these kids in this community who live here, we worry about the kids in high school or in middle school or elementary. I guess I should have started at the bottom. And these people graduate from high school. Some of them leave, and some of them don't. And so I will see kids that both of us know, right? They're working at the bar there as a waiter. Some are at the cleaners. Many of them are at Short Hills Mall. They never left. They're 23, 24, 25, still living in their parents' house. Now, perhaps if they had been exposed to something else, because people really just expect the district, to do all the stuff for us. The district is going to, somebody says, well, I moved into this community and I expected so much from the schools. And all of us cannot afford and do not qualify to send our kids to private schools. So we deal with the school district we have, and we expect the school district to do every little thing. But from what I've seen and all the people I know and the people I've seen, they'll put their kid in Kumon. Those who know, they'll send their kid away. They'll make all these opportunities while we're just expecting everything to come from the school. I've sat around and watched parents say, I'm not doing your homework. That's your homework and not mine. Whereas another parent would sit down and tell little Johnny, show him how to read that clock. So the enrichment that we need, that those other people get, that give them these high scores, that